I've always wondered how close to perfection manufacturers ship the filament profiles in their slicers. If they control the machine, the filament, and the slicer, I think we should expect them to be dialed in, with some wiggle room to account for variance. Hi, my name's the Legend Tuba Guy, and you're watching Tuba Makes. Today we're going to be talking about how to get the most out of your Centauri Carbon. Spoiler alert, it's dialing in profiles. I've wanted to do this video for a while, so when ELEGOO reached out asking if I had any projects they could help with, I told them what I wanted to do, and they sent over some of the filaments you'll be seeing today. This video is not sponsored, but there's an affiliate link in the description below if you'd like to help out the channel at no cost to you. Let's get started. I'm using the ELEGOO Centauri Carbon 2 with canvas for all my testing today, but this shouldn't be seen as a review of this printer, even though we'll be talking about a few quirks with it. Nor am I attempting to review the materials today. This is really a review of the filament profiles, and hopefully showing all of you that the small time investment is really worth it. First up is Rapid PLA+. Now, I am a dumb man. When I first read the name, I thought this would just be a rapid version of ELEGOO's standard PLA, but it's a rapid version of their PLA+. It's in the name. I'm not sure why I didn't get. Anyways, it has different material behaviors than their standard PLA. Their standard PLA already prints quite fast and is what I use 90% of the time. So let's see how this Rapid PLA+ does. I'm only going to cover my very quick calibration flow this one time, and I'm following the Orca suggested calibration order before you come at me in the comments. Don't come at me. Essentially, we want to check temperature, flow ratio, max volumetric, and pressure advance. These are the building blocks your slicer uses to ensure you are getting high quality prints at speeds we expect in 2026. So let's see what our temp tower looks like. It looks pretty consistent from 210 to 230. I'll be choosing 230. Our goal today is hot and fast just like your mom likes it. Next up is our max volumetric calibration. If we measure up the side of these walls and corners to find where the extrusion starts to break, we can then go into our slicer and see what the flow was at that point. You'll want to back off slightly from what you measure, and I'm using a 10% buffer, meaning we're intentionally dialing back this setting to make sure we don't approach the breaking point during real prints. Then we need to do our pressure advance calibration. I like using the line method. You're looking for the line where the filament gap closes but isn't bulging. Take the number the line matches up with and enter it into your slicer. For this Rapid PLA+, I got a value of 0.038. You could go through and do adaptive pressure advance, but just doing pressure advance alone is a good start. Keep in mind, these values likely vary a little bit by color, by batch of plastic, everything. You could drive yourself wild trying to tune for every spool, or just do it once. Build in some buffer and save your sanity. That's what I'm doing. Let's see this print. This Oni Mask PlayStation controller holder in black and white came out fantastic. And canvas performed perfectly, exactly how we needed it to swap between the black and the white, and it looks great. On to our Rapid PETG. I love these bins that the creator calls buckets, and having them made out of something like PETG will suit them well. The calibrations went just as smoothly as the Rapid PLA+. I'm running a little bit hotter, a higher pressure advance value, and a lower max volumetric. This tells me that ELEGOO hasn't built in enough safety margin on this profile, but that's okay, we'll fix it ourselves. My value is only 0.4 cubic millimeters per second lower, so likely not a big deal, but I want high quality prints I can depend on time and time again. These bins came out great, and the canvas system allowing me to color coordinate them for different use cases is nice. We have one more rapid filament to check out, and that's Rapid TPU 95A. In a previous video, I showed you that I had combined TPU and PLA using the canvas system, which worked quite well. However, ELEGOO does not recommend using TPU through canvas, so much so that they've designed this flexible filament adapter. It's just a fancy PTFE tube splitter path thing. It bypasses canvas entirely when you want to print flexibles. I printed this, mounted it, unplugged canvas, and loaded up some of the TPU. Keep in mind, you will need to buy some of these PTFE tube collets to go along with this. I have a love-hate relationship with TPU. When it works, it's fun, but when it doesn't, it's super frustrating. Originally, I tried using canvas with the TPU, but the printer did pause several times during the calibrations, informing me there was a feeding error, so I abandoned this and just went through the bypass. I kept the temp the same as ELEGOO's provided profile, but upped the pressure advance value and got just a slight max volumetric bump. I then attempted to print the dreaded airless tennis ball, and it looks terrible. It was like it was under extruding everywhere. It feels almost incomplete. I don't know what to tell you. You know, sometimes I see what other people are doing here on YouTube and I'm left wondering, damn, am I just really inept? Don't answer that. I recently watched a video by Dave Rig Design where he did a multicolor, multi-material TPU shoe on his Snapmaker U1. And while I wasn't attempting multicolor or material, even just one color of the TPU he printed looked fantastic. I was super jealous, frustrated, and I did the only thing a reasonable, sane person with access to the internet can do. I asked Reddit. Dry your filament. Have you dried it? Use glue. Dry it again. You didn't dry it. What dryer did you use? TPU always looks like that. Well, I did dry it. But in order to make sure I wasn't missing out on some super amazing level of dryness, I stuck both spools back in my Sunlu filament dryer, if that matters to you, for 3 days at 60 degrees, 3 full days. I started up the airless tennis ball print and it looked exactly the same. Thank you, Reddit. I really appreciate it. I started posting around on some Discords I'm a part of and asking if anyone had other ideas I could try, and one stuck out to me. Turn off your fan. Now, to me, this is not what we'd want with a stringy, goopy material like TPU. It seems counterintuitive to me. But I turned off always on fan, set fan speed to 0, and sent the airless tennis ball again. Lo and behold, this was it. The structure between openings doesn't look nearly as shit. I still see some stringing, nothing too terrible, but I did want to try and take care of it before our next couple prints. So I upped retraction length to 1 from 0.4, and I set retract and detract speeds to 15. This might be stupid, and you can tell me in the comments below if you're like, oh my god, these are terrible TPU settings, how could you do this? I would love to hear it. The next print was a pair of Crocs, and I loaded up the black TPU and prepared for a 2-day print. There are quite a few overhangs on this model, and the contact patch with the bed is quite small. So I enabled supports, which is usually bad news with TPU. They stick incredibly well. I was able to rip the supports off, and I think it came out pretty well. It looks good on camera. I wondered if I could print the white Croc without supports because the black one was stuck to the bed so well, and sure enough, I could. It did flop around in the wind a little bit, but it finished and it printed, so success. Because the tool head didn't have to zoom around to do the supports around the Croc, the white Croc looks better than the black one, even though the black one had supports turned on. These unfortunately don't fit my feet super well because I'm a big boy and this is only a 256 cube print volume, but they are nice and squishy. And if they did fit, these would be excellent print farm shoes. Next, we get to our fiber reinforced filaments. ELEGOO sent over some of their PETG-GF, and I have to say, this stuff prints super nice. I tried to find models that would be a good example of what one might use for all of these different materials, and these mini drone bodies seem like an excellent fit for PETG-GF. I printed 10 degrees hotter and a bit higher PA value. These prints are gorgeous, and I wanted to do a comparison to our next filament, so I also printed these low poly wolves to compare surface quality to our next filament. They came out super clean. I have zero complaints about this. They look so nice. This filament looks gorgeous. So those of you, I've seen a bunch of you say, I love printing in PETG-GF. I didn't know. This stuff is awesome. I like this so much more than just regular PETG. I printed 2 in the respective black and gray that ELEGOO sent over. And again, both look super nice. They've got this slight sheen to them. They shimmer in the light. They're gorgeous. I love them. I've wanted to try this next material for a while, PETG-GF. The glass fiber is an excellent choice over the carbon fiber for something like this Raspberry Pi case. I ran this a bit hotter, faster, and at a higher PA value than ELEGOO's profile. And the surface of our low poly wolf feels rough to the touch, which is expected with glass fiber, but it still looks awesome. It shines in the light. There's a little bit more ringing on the surface than the PETG-CF, but it looks great. I would not complain about this print at all. That's just me being picky about the ringing. It looks super nice. Next, we get to our big boy material of the video. ELEGOO did not send this over because I don't think they recommend printing this in a Centauri Carbon, but I wanted to try anyways. PAHT-CF is ELEGOO's nylon blend mixed with carbon fiber. I fed it into the canvas system from a Polymaker dry box with the heater set to max. This is the profile that changed the most outside of the TPU with its cooling changes. I ran hotter, the hottest bed temp I can with the Centauri Carbon at 110, turned PA on, slowed max volumetric, and upped the flow ratio. I hate using glue on my print beds. I know a lot of you out there swear by it, but in 2026, if a print bed from a manufacturer can't hold filament, I'll return it. I have no problem doing that. My Prusa Minis in 2020 had excellent adhesion, and I don't know. I refuse to believe that I need glue to do anything except this. Without the ability to get the bed up around 120 and no heated chamber, I needed glue in order to finish our calibration prints because they would just eventually give up. I also set the bed to 110 and put a mini heater in the chamber underneath the bed and let it soak for an hour before printing. One of the negatives about the canvas hat is you lose a lot of heat up in there. A chamber heater would help this printer dramatically, and I think it'd be easy to add one. I mean, I put mine in there, and if I took a little bit more time, I could have run the cable out through a hole in the back and down. And I think the BQ, the new BQ heater that came out, I think that would work in here super well too. I printed a new tool head cover for the Centauri Carbon, and it came out flawless and stayed adhered perfectly. There's no warping at all. I also printed this little speedometer or tachometer gear that somebody had made for a bike or something. I don't know. I was linked to it as an example print. But anyways, it's very, very strong. Then I wanted to try using PA support material, something I've never had the ability to try before, with canvas swapping between the two, the PAHT-CF and the PA support material. I printed this hammer with these long straight bridge sections. This is an excellent model to use with something like PA support material because it doesn't have to swap that many times. The canvas switched back and forth from PAHT-CF to the PA support material just 4 times without a hitch. The supports broke away super clean and left an amazingly smooth surface. Those of you out there with an H2D, H2C, Snapmaker U1 or Prusa XL, God, I envy you. I totally get it. The ability to use support material, oh, that looks so nice. I'm so jealous. Anyways, a few layers after the last swap, I got a clog. The printer did detect it, and I was able to force feed it while it was paused and then resuming, and this resolved the clog, but it did leave a nasty line in the middle of the print. The Centauri Carbon obviously isn't meant to really print this material. I just wanted to show that it can be done. If you have one of these, I think it's a really nice all-rounder. If you're gonna print with a lot of high temp materials, you really need a chamber heater. And lots of people will scream that your filaments need to be enclosed, but those are the same people that are fawning over the Cobra X, so make it make sense. But there are models people have made that attach dry boxes to the printer where the stock spool holders go. So I feel like there are options available if you're mainly going to be doing PLA on this printer, but it's your only printer and you want the option to do something crazy like PAHT-CF. I feel like you could make it work. Where does this leave the review of ELEGOO's filament profiles though? Well, in most cases they're close, but in some cases they are not. And in most cases, I don't feel ELEGOO has built in enough safety margin to reduce the number of people complaining about failed prints, which makes a lot of sense given the hell on earth that is the ELEGOO subreddit. This really drives home the point to me that it's worth dialing in filament profiles for brands and types of filament on my printers. And I hope it does for you also, but more than that, I hope this video has shown that it's okay to just try stuff. I see so many people online asking, do you think it'd be okay if I do this with my machine? Do you think it'd be okay if I print this material? Yeah, just try it. See what happens. It's okay to fail. It's okay for this to be fun. There's a lot of people in this space that look like me that are all rah, I only print functional prints, goddammit. Daddy, chill. It's okay. The Flexi Dragon isn't going to hurt you. For me, this is part of what I like about 3D printing. It lets me try things and learn by doing. I put out videos like this one where I don't feel like I super succeeded in what I set out to do at all, which was print hotter and faster, and I didn't really print any faster. I'm opening myself up to ridicule, but I learned something. I learned multiple things, and hopefully I help show you something too. If you ever want to talk 3D printing, specific printers, materials, or about 3D printing businesses, we'd love to chat over on the Tuba Makes Discord. Head over to tubamakes.com to see everything that I use in my print farm, and if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.